through some more data. And here we come up with another interesting one. This one's April 10th. And this one's especially interesting because if you notice, there's a negative number here. The sampling volume went from 7,000 cubic meters down to 79 cubic meters. So what happened is, and this took them an hour to do this work, they pulled out a old air filter that had 7,367 cubic meters of air through it, and they replaced it with a new one. Now, again, what makes this interesting is they're supposed to wait till 12,000 cubic meters. For some reason, they pulled it lower. They pulled it out early, and that typically has the effect, again, of lowering the readings because it's a new filter with no radioactive materials in it. So they ran this filter for 1 hour, and it looks like they got, this is where it gets a little strange. They ran it for 1 hour and 25 minutes. So that's how they got 79. They ran it for longer. They got 79 cubic meters of air through it by running it for almost 1.5 hours. And then they did something else that was interesting. You see the negative number here. They changed the air filter again. So they put in a new air filter, took one sample off of this air filter, removed it, and stuck in another brand new air filter and took a sample off of it. My understanding, they're only supposed to do that when there's significant indication of something going on. And maybe we'll eventually see if the EPA releases the data on these dates from when they send these samples in to have further detections. And then the next hour after that, and this is automated because you see it only took 4 seconds to go from one sample to another sample. Sample size was 60 cubic meters, that's standard. But you notice that the number's lower now. But it's also been censored. The beta count in here is 0. So they deleted the beta count. Doesn't look like they messed with the gamma counts on that one. So my assumption is that the beta count here was very high. Well, then we go through some more where they're again letting the burn off happen. And here we have another example where they changed the filter again. Now you can see they've changed the filter on 4/10, and now we're changing the filter again on 4/12, April. Took them 20 minutes to change the filter. And the interesting thing is there's only approximately 2,399 cubic meters of air had gone through that filter. So that's way early to change that filter. And they did change it. And if you notice here what happened to the beta count. The beta count went from 46 to 12. And that's because they changed the filter and there's not as much contamination on it, especially beta contamination. So then we cycle some more burn-offs where they take longer than they should. Oh no, sorry, this is where the delay time. There was a little bit of a delay time in here, not as much. Same thing again, keep on going. Let me cycle all the way down through here. And here's an interesting one, April 25th through April 26th. Another one on April 26th, they censored the data. And here they censored the gamma ranges. So let's see what time this is. This is roughly midnight UTC, so it'd be 5 hours before that. So this is roughly 8 p.m. St. Louis time. They removed gamma energy ranges 2 through 5 and gamma range 7. But an hour later, they allowed gamma range 2 and they allowed gamma range 7, but they deleted gamma range 3 through 5. Then again, an hour later, the next reading, they deleted gamma range 5. So we come down here to 3 hours later, and once again, they're deleting. And you can see how even though they're deleting, you can see Well, you see how crazy low that number went from the deletions, but the readings are pretty high. So let's see what they deleted here. Here they deleted just gamma range 5. So whatever this contamination is, it looks like the strongest part of it was in gamma range 5. So they cycle through 7 more days. Here's another filter change. Now, this is what I call a normal filter change. If you look at the sampling volume, it's 11,279. So that's pretty close to 12,000 cubic feet. So this filter's at the end of its lifespan. It's time for them to change it. Took them 28 minutes to change it. And you can see what happened to the beta count. Beta count went from 30 to 11. That's because of the, again, new filter, no built-up radioactivity in it. So we'll run through some more data here. And I'll get to the chart in a second. Here another chance where a filter changed, but this time they didn't wait till 12,000. They changed it at 5,600. This time it took the guy 40 minutes to change. So this is twice as long as normal to change. So I'm wagering the guy doing the change here was slacking off. So here we go. Once again, beta count drops because of the new filter. So let's cycle down further. Here we got a took an extra hour between the measurement. Now you can see here how it looks like they're trying to avoid a trend. Overall counts are climbing, 27, 28. Beta count jumps to 29. They take an additional hour to let the beta burn off, but it still comes in high. So keep on sliding down. We're into May now. Here we are into May. Another filter change. This one again legit. It's almost 12,000. Took the guy. What's strange about this one is this took over 40 hours to make this change. So they let the monitoring stations go offline for 40 hours. Might be a manpower issue, but you can see how the beta counts dropped after the change. Here they took an additional hour to, they let the filter run for an additional hour without measuring it. Let's cycle on down through the days. Getting close to, all right, here we come to where I had a 62 times background reading in St. Louis in the rain. And you can see here, this is right around the time when I had a 32 times background reading. Filter looked like it was up for change. It's almost at 12,000 cubic meters, so that's a standard change point. But it took them 111 hours to change this. So this filter was down for a while. And they changed it. They put 59 cubic feet of air through it. Took them 1 hour to do it. And they got their readings. And then the next hour, they only ran this filter for half an hour. Half the allotted time they ran the filter. Only took 30 cubic feet of air through it. But look what happened to the beta count. Jumped like crazy. From 15 to 73. So if they would have taken the full hour reading, no telling how high this thing would have went. And this is another spot where it gets to be extremely interesting. What they did again, if you can see the next filter, next slot, an hour, 19 minutes later, has a negative number. What they've done is this filter now only has 89.5 cubic meters of air through it. And they got this very high number. And so what they did was they pulled out this brand new filter. I mean, they just changed it an hour and a half earlier. They had changed this filter. An hour and a half earlier, they had taken out the old filter, put in this new filter, run 2 samples through it, 1 hour sample and a half hour sample. And they saw something that concerned them, I wager. And they removed that air filter and put in another brand new air filter. This time it only took them 19 minutes. I guess they were rushing instead of taking the 45 minutes they did in some earlier samples. And so we're back down here to 11. So there was some sort of spike, and you can see how these numbers are trending to increase. Let's keep on going here. So that's unusual. So hopefully they sent this into the EPA, and EPA will post the data of what they found in this filter that they only used for 2 hours. So we continue to cycle on through. Another one where they pulled out the filter early. It only had 8,756 cubic feet through it. They should have waited till 12,000. And you can see how they dropped the beta count from 29 to 9. Again, it's fresh air filter, so there's no buildup on it. So what you can do with that is, if you want to lower a trend, you change the air filter. And they did a lot of that early on. Now here's another air filter change. And you can see how the beta counts are getting high here. And it only had 4,000 cubic meters on it. Took them 24 minutes to change it. They ran the test for an hour, and with a brand new filter in it, it drops down to 17. So if we maintained the old air filter, you could well imagine there would have been probably 90 plus. This would have probably would have been 107. This one 135, so on and so forth, till it started to burn off, depending on what the half-life is. So now we're running into June, and you'll see they're doing less of the burn-off times. But here we have another change. Here they cut this sample reading short. They only took this sample for 38 minutes. And if you notice here, beta count was 61. Beta count jumps to 102. And so what that tells me is somebody says, man, we need to get that air filter off of there. Something's going on. So what they did was, and look at the turnaround time here. They got a pretty quick turnaround time in here. 16 minutes. They put another air filter in and ran it accordingly. But if they had not done that, this, who knows? Since this only ran a little bit over half the time, this beta count might have been 200. And that would have made this next one, if they hadn't changed it, 215, and so on and so forth. So this could have been an extremely high beta count. We might have had up to maybe 300 by the time we were a few hours later. But we don't know because they cut it short. Here's another example where they allowed a burn off to occur. This usually affects more of the beta readings, I believe. So they went 3 hours without taking a reading, and you can see what happened to the beta count. It lowered from 56 to 30. And again, that's because of the short half-life. Radiation burns off quicker. So you wonder what was going on here that made them sense the data that way. Same thing here. Did an hour's worth. So we're almost at the end here. And here, another filter change. And this looks like a legitimate filter change where we're up to almost 12,000 cubic meters. But look at the incredible amount of time it took this filter change to happen. 159 hours from June 18th to June 24th before this happened. So sometimes they can do that filter change in 16 minutes. Sometimes they take a week. Then we come into June 26th, and you can see that another filter change was done here. And here they censored more data. This time the filter only had 2,000 cubic meters of air through it. And they changed it here. For some reason they didn't record the cumulative sampling volume. The flow rate, they removed the flow rate. CPM count, counts per minute, jumped, but that doesn't include the beta count. This is just a cum of the beta and the gamma ranges that I calculate. So they removed the beta, but looks like they left the gammas in this one. Then, so they put in a new filter. Then they waited 2 hours after putting, so they censored this one, censored this.